You have about 2 more minutes before we get started. So I will make it official at noon, but just wanted to say welcome to everyone who is here already. Well, it is 12 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and record this so that we can share it with anyone who was not able to make it. Oh, it's already recording. Great. So for those of you who have not been to one of these before, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of how they're kind of structured, which is they're not terribly structured. We generally just kind of open the floor to questions. We start with a general topic area, and this month is hold management, so that people kind of know whether or not they have a question relevant to what we're talking about. But conversation can certainly move off of that in other directions. But if you do have questions about hold management, you're welcome to unmute yourself or put it in chat. Benjamin and Llewellyn are on vacation, so they will not be here today, but Courtney, Will, and myself will all be here, and we will do our best to answer questions about holds, get into any kind of nitty-gritty stuff about either things you're experiencing or if you have sort of a general question about how holds work or why certain things happen the way they do, we can talk about that as well. It may be that you have a question that gets highly specific, and so maybe a little bit too detailed for us to get into during the time we have allotted for today. And if that's the case, we'll go ahead and open up a ticket for you and be in touch with you that way. But feel free to start asking questions, even if you think they might go that direction. We'll get started on them here and then can kind of take it from there. I know that we have been having some interesting stuff happening with Hold since the upgrade. And then also I saw some Brunswick people in here, and I know that there have been some uh, surprises in Hold since your migration. So we can get into any of that. I don't know if Will and Courtney maybe want to take a moment to introduce themselves. Actually, I haven't introduced myself, so I'll start there, and then Will and Courtney can take it from there. I'm Samantha O'Connor, and I am the Cardinal Training Specialist. Oh,
I'm muted. Can you hear me now?
yes.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Courtney Brown, Services Systems Librarian for NC Cardinal.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Will Schwagiel, and I am the NC Cardinal Project Manager.
So I'd like to open the floor to anyone who has a question, and if nobody wants to be the first to go, maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the stuff we've been working on at NC Cardinal. Let's see in the chat. Marie says, I placed a patron on a title hold for a large print of Grey Wolf by Louise Penny on December 3rd. Yesterday, I noticed the book was renewed the very next day by OPAC renewal. So she wants to know what allowed the book to renew when a hold had been placed on it. See, she says she's attached screenshots, but I have no idea how to find attachments within WebEx. So I will work on that. Let's see. Do you happen to have the specific TCN of the bib record that you place the hold for? That'll help narrow it down. I can do a catalog search. Let me share my screen and we'll do a catalog search of this. But if you have the TCN, that'll get us there a little quicker. Let's not do the patron name if we can help it, just because I'm recording this. I'm going to put it up on YouTube and I can edit it out. But just for the sake of avoiding too much personal info, we can find it via the cataloger. And if we have to go through the patron, then we will do that and I'll just edit it, or I will do that off screen. Yes.
If it helps, I can try to go with the patron's name. Well, I don't.
Okay.
Will it record the text? So I say if she can post the name here, I can try to go in on my end that's not shown and see what I can find on the TCN.
I believe if she does a direct message in the chat directly to you, that will not record. So I think that would be fine.
Okay.
And I'll just start with a catalog search for Grey Wolf, the large print. And maybe there's only one bib record, and that would make it easy, right?
Marie, if you want to send me the patron's name, direct chat message or message here.
Okay, Louise Penny. There we go. Large print. It does look like this is the only one, so
Okay.
that does make it a little bit easier. So you said that you placed the hold on December 3rd. Yeah, actually, I think we will need to take a look at the patron record, because my thought is that if an item had already been, it doesn't look like there's a, if an item had already been targeted on somebody else's pull list, then when checked out would have renewed. But that depends, of course, on
Samantha,
availability. Yes.
I have a question that might help this.
Mm-hmm.
Was there possibly no available copies for their specific library and all the other ones are still in new status and can't fill holds yet?
Oh, that could be, because it does look like these are
It might have
all
renewed because of the fact
very
you see all
new.
that 6-month hold
Yeah.
protection.
Yep, that's a good
That might be
thought.
that they didn't own a copy in their system,
Mhm.
therefore their patron doesn't qualify yet
Mhm.
also to get one from another system.
But
I
That's the-
actually came
I
across
also
this
don't
last week
see
in a
any
ticket.
copy level holds placed on December the 3rd.
That's because I had it scoped too.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking on in the catalog.
She said
What
it was a
library is
title
Marie from?
level. Rockingham, I think.
Does Rockingham have any copies of this book? That might be some of the problem.
Sorry, I've got all these WebEx boxes are blocking the parts of the catalog I need to look at.
Oh, it's a title level.
And she sent me a message saying it was their copy. Moore County.
It was their copy. Oh, it was Moore
She
County,
belongs to
Sandhills.
Moore.
I'm so
Mhm.
sorry. I just did a ticket for her. I should know that, but I can't keep anything straight this time of year. I'm so sorry. Okay, so it does not look like more is showing up here. There's one for the bookmobile
Oh.
that is currently in transit. Is there a chance that the hold itself was for pickup at the bookmobile? So, because it looks like we've got two, a title and a copy for the bookmobile. And if it is that, then yep, this was placed on the 3rd and it is in transit. So my guess is that an item had already been put in transit to fulfill this hold when another copy renewed. See, let's take a look at the item itself. And I was about to block that name with my hand as though that helps at all. It transited from Moore to Moore Bookmobile on the 19th. Now, when was that? Of course, the renewal happened on the 4th, so that would not have already been captured for transit. Let's take a look. Courtney or Will, if you happen to have PG admin up, can you see if you can find circ history for this that'll show that renewal?
Pulling it up.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll look into this and see if we can figure out what happened. There are a lot of different things that could cause that renewal to happen despite the hold being placed. So we'll need to take a look at when the renewal happened and exactly what was captured in the database for that. So Courtney will take a look for that. And while she does anybody have any additional questions or similar kind of head scratchers or anything like that?
Okay, I have a general question.
All right, let's do it.
Just because of my experience with prior ILSs, other ILSs are able to see a brand new process copy and able to fill a hold right away. I realize with Evergreen, still getting used to it after 4 years, isn't able to do that. And that is it correct that under items checked in, a check-in modifier, you should set it to retarget local holds and retarget all statuses to try to help that, where sometimes there's like a 24-hour delay for it to target a newly processed item?
It shouldn't be a full 24 hours. It's usually
Okay.
just a few hours, but the item could end up going back on the shelf and then it, the whole targeting thing gets a little more complicated then because of that.
Okay.
But yes, the final step of processing a newly purchased item should always be to check it in with that retarget local holds modifier applied, because
Okay.
that'll force the targeter to rerun. So any of you who may not be familiar with that, let me just show you the process real quick. I don't have a barcode to scan for this, but
So that's
um,
part one. Then I've got a part 2
okay.
and 3, but go ahead. Show the, thank you.
So when you're in the check-in screen, you just come down here to check-in modifiers and you choose this retarget local holds. So you'll see this pink bar at the top that tells you that that's been turned on. Then when you check something in, it will force the hold targeter to run for that title. If you have any holds locally, then this will basically, that'll capture that hold. Whereas if you did not have this check-in modifier applied, the targeter wouldn't yet know that this copy that you've just cataloged could go to fulfill that hold. So it would just sort of transit it right back to shelving, and then it would be available on the shelf. So just as part of your cataloging process, that the final step should be to do this retarget local holds. And, a lot of catalogers will do a check-in anyway, because that'll take it from in process or cataloging or in order, on order, and put it into an available status anyway. So if you're checking it in anyway, you may as well just apply the check-in modifier. It's not really an extra step. And once you've applied it once, I think if you save the columns after applying this check-in modifier,
It's sticky. You are
it's
correct.
sticky. Okay. Yeah, I can never remember everything that's going to be sticky and not.
Yeah,
But
as long as you save it. Yep.
so then, you don't even have to turn that on every time. So if you're a cataloger, I recommend that you just turn on that check-in modifier and keep it going, so that every time you finish cataloging, you can make sure that something is available for a hold. And then you said it was a two-parter, Deborah?
Well, just sometimes that works because my staff and I always keep that on. That's one of our check-in modifiers. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So my next part is the definition of a local hold. Is it only retargeting for the branch we're at, or is it looking within my system?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure I know the
That's
answer
because we're
to.
very much wanting to, for customer service, help it fill a hold at any of our 4
Right.
branches.
Will or Courtney, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. I bet Benjamin would, but he's not here. Do you happen to know? I can look it up real quick and see if it's documented anywhere.
Yeah, I was wondering if Evergreen's definition of local is just your local branch or anything local within your system. Because that might explain why it
System?
works sometimes and why it doesn't other times. Because
That may be a Benjamin question, honestly, but I want to say system.
Yeah, I would have thought it was
Yeah, I'm
system.
not sure. I was gonna check the documentation and see if I can find anything.
No, it does not. It does not clarify that in the documentation, in the Evergreen documentation. We might
Okay.
have more in our documentation.
it might be a good question for one of the Evergreen listservs then. I might
Well,
see if somebody knows.
I'm going to write it down, and it's definitely something we could probably experiment with as well.
Because I'm thinking that might explain why sometimes it works and why sometimes it doesn't. It's just really weird about that you
Yeah.
can check something in and it'll actually retarget it. And then the next time you can check another item in that you've just processed right behind that item, and it'll tell you to reshelve it, and you look and you can see holds waiting and you're like, oh, why did it not get that one?
I feel like we've had tickets related to this in the past, and I don't remember what the resolution was, but that's something that we can dig into to see if we can figure out what has turned out to be the culprit. And it may be that it is that Evergreen's definition of local is incredibly specific. But like Courtney said, I feel like it's supposed to be at the system level.
It would be great if it was. Maybe that's a future upgrade, a future enhancement.
Well, we can put a wish list on for it. Okay, so Courtney, any luck on Marie's issue with that renewed item? And Will says in the chat that he can't find anything definitively one way or the other. So we can experiment with it. Ask Benjamin when he
Yeah.
gets back, and we can certainly send it out to the rest of the Evergreen community for clarification as well.
I'm playing around with it now. I saw that she did provide the patron information, so I'm looking at it from that way a bit now. Sorry, I kind of slowed down
Oh,
on
it's
the
fine.
query just because what the one that I had in mind initially it was needing the patron information. I didn't have it at that time. So now I have it. So sorry, just kind of circling back to the staff client, just kind of wrapping my head around it with the actual patron. I do see both of those holes, the title hole and the copy hole, that was placed on that TCN. What is that? The Great Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I do see both of the holes. One's in transit, one is waiting for copy. The copy, that's the copy hole waiting for copy. Okay, let me see if I can take that and run some queries with it. Sorry, it may take a little longer.
Now, it does say there are 52 potential items. So
Mhm.
I don't think 6-month age hold protection is covering everything here. 'Cause that's a lot of items otherwise. Well, if anybody else has other questions, please feel free to pipe up while we continue to kind of look into this. We had kind of an interesting one that we were kind of working out as a team this morning that I can talk about something that could cause some weirdness if anybody wants to hear that, just because it turned out to be a simple solution, but getting there was not simple. And that's that an item had been placed on hold. A patron had then checked out that title, finding it on the shelf, and that had not cleared the hold from their account. And we were really scratching our heads over this. And then we realized that when the patron had placed
And
the hold.
just to add to it, the hold never captured their local copy despite the local copy being available ever since the hold was originally placed.
Yeah, so even weirder, like they had a hold and they found it on the shelf because it had never been captured. That it turned out that the patron had placed the hold and the hold had been placed on a bib record that the local copy was not attached to. The local copy was attached to a different bib record. And then those records were merged after the patron checked out the one that they found. And as a result, they had the hold on the title record and the checkout on the title record, but the Evergreen had never put those two together because at the time of the checkout, it was not that title record. It was a completely different title record. And it just coincidentally had been merged a day or two after they checked it out. So those are the types of things that sometimes if you're seeing weirdnesses in holds, things not capturing right, always worth checking to see if the record that the hold is being placed on actually matches the record that your local copy is attached to. For those of you who are not familiar with it, this record notes tab in a bib record will tell you a history of merges. This particular item has never, or title has never been merged, but if it had been, then you would see a note saying that it was merged on this date and it was merged from this other record. So if you ever come across something like that where your local hold is not fulfilling hold requests for your patrons or something like that, always worth double checking that the bib records, that you don't have a duplicate bib record happening. All right. So I'm not seeing anything come through in chat, but I know that we've had all kinds of strange hold things happening recently. Anything else that we're kind of working through right now on the Cardinal side? It's worth sharing.
Sorry, I was kind of digging
you're
still
fine.
into this. I'm not finding a lot on it, on what
Okay.
happened. I'm trying to go back to see if maybe something. Looking at sorry. As far as holds, I've honestly been digging into what's going on with the Brunswick hold targeting. Of course, they're not participating in resource sharing. Um, with our migrations, we have specific blocking policies that blocks all of Cardinal from placing holds on items until they're ready to resource share. And then we provide them with specific allowing policies, allowing the holds within their system. And with this migration, for some reason, it's just being real difficult, as Samantha mentioned, also with the recent upgrades, some of the issues. So I've honestly been kind of digging in there, still can't put my finger on why or what has changed, but I did notice, if any Brunswick staff are up here, and you guys may have noticed that too, but on those items that we are finding that it's attempting to or an out of county item has been targeted and put in transit, I can go through the system and find that there's an available copy in Brunswick to fill the hole locally. So of course, go in, cancel the transit, kind of get that check back in at the owning library, and then I can cancel the Brunswick hold and recreate a new hold, and it targets the Brunswick location without any issues. It's really weird. Not sure, if I don't know, just kind of, just guys, just speaking on what I've been playing with here. But that's been really weird. So still kind of digging around, playing, creating test scenarios to see if there's an aha moment on, something, maybe a setting or a flag or something that's causing that those initial holes to target, consistently, continuously outside of the system, although there is an available item to fill it. So yeah, that's kind of been me, or where I'm at the last few days.
I know we've got some Brunswick people in this call, so I don't know if you have anything kind of to add from what you're seeing at this point, or questions or anything like that. Not to put you just completely on the spot. Well, let's take a look maybe at some kind of tips and tricks within holds, and if people do have more questions, we can shift gears. Um, but for now, we can take a look at some things that you can kind of do within the realm of holds. I've got some fake patrons here in our next server that have plenty of holds that I can pull up. Let's see. Well, I thought I had some with some holds, but I can certainly place some holds if nothing else. All right. Let's place some holds. Let's place one for Gray Wolf, since we already know that that's giving some problems. No, this one must be so new that it's not even showing up necessarily. We'll try this one. It's got plenty of copies. All right, so let's take a look back at this patron's account. So just a couple of things that I'm sure most of the people in this call are familiar with, but just in case anyone's not, we kind of look around at what can be done from this page. So this is the patrons hold tab. And one of the first things that you can do is come over here to your gear icon and add additional columns. And one of the ones that I like to add is queue position. We do get a lot of questions about queue position. It's not 100% accurate because, of course, opportunistic capture can get in the way of that. And every once in a while, you may have a situation where a copy level hold kind of gets in the way, or a larger or some sort of like recall hold may jump the line. But queue position is at least kind of it gives you the gist of where somebody is in line. So I think it's usually helpful to kind of know that this is an option to check. If somebody asks where they are in line, you can at least give them a number for that, with the caveat that it may not be 100% accurate. Potential items is another one that I really like to have visible here, just because that way you know how many things really could fill this. So this is not necessarily reflective of how many actual copies are available on this bib record, but it is reflective of how many of those copies on this bib record could potentially fill this, which may be a lower number just if there are things that are lost or missing, or under 6-month age hold protection or something like that. So those are two useful columns that I like to have within the patron record. Some other things to kind of add in here. The current copy, so this is only going to be particularly helpful if a copy has been kind of targeted, but this will let you see what copy has been targeted. So you could take a look. You can see that the status is already waiting for capture, which means that it is available on somebody's pull list right away. And that should happen right away most of the time, is that something should pop into that waiting for capture status if the item is in any kind of available state, both on the shelf, available for checkout, and within a library that could send it. So, not a library that's just migrated or has holds paused for any other reason. So that should happen pretty much automatically. It doesn't always, but Not a lot else in here that I highly recommend adding. Can be useful to add the pickup library because that doesn't always match with the home library. In this patron's case, we do have pickup library matches their home library, but a patron, of course, can set anything as their pickup library. So if their home library is not necessarily the most convenient one for work or something like that, they may want to change that pickup library to somewhere else. It is also possible to change that pickup library after a hold has been placed. So let's say this patron has their standard pickup library as work, but they want to change it to maybe Leland, then that you can come up here to the actions menu. So you select the item, come up here to the actions menu and choose edit pickup library. And then you can change it to a different branch. And so that's going to change that. Now, if the item's already in transit, I don't believe you can do that. But as long as it hasn't been put in transit yet, you can change that pickup library. You can also, if at the time the patron placed the hold, they wanted it as soon as they could get it, but something has come up and now they'd like to suspend it, you can always suspend it after it's been placed by coming up here to just choose suspend from the action menu. And then of course, so now its status is suspended. Now, of course, you can also activate it. And it looks like Courtney does have
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's much help, but I do see where the patron that initially had the item checked out, the system did attempt to auto renew it, and then it, I guess, found the hold and canceled it and provided a notification that the auto renewal did not occur due to the hold request.
interesting.
Yeah, copy needed for holds. And it has that information there, 1218. That is, like I said, probably not helpful, but that's what I'm finding now.
So it looks like it attempted the auto renewal, but didn't
Mhm.
actually renew. That's interesting. I
Mhm.
wonder why it showed up as having been renewed. Maybe simply because the renewal had been attempted.
I'm not sure, and it does. I do see evidence of the notification that was sent out to the patron, explaining to them why it was not renewed because it was needed to fill a hold. But yeah, I'll keep digging and see if anything that actually points to exactly what caused that to happen. But looking at the database, that's what I see now with that hold.
That is
Yeah.
that's weird. We say that's weird a lot when it comes to holds.
And not sure if it's the query I shared with you. Dig a little deeper. I'll dig a little deeper and see.
Okay.
My first thought would have been that a library staff member forced the renewal, but if it was done through the OPAC, that implies that the patron did it themselves, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there'd be no way to override a block on a hold via the OPAC. Well, I don't want to say there'd be no way because I'm constantly surprised by what Evergreen allows and doesn't allow. But there's not supposed to be a way. Well, we will keep digging into this one, Marie, because it is a little bit of an odd one. Yeah, it's reasonable to be confused on this one.
Do see, sorry, okay, the OPAC renewal on 12/18. And then it shows that the item stop fines was checked in the next day on 12/19. So maybe whenever the item was scanned in that had something, I don't know.
Maybe. Hmm.
And I just noticed that the check-in following day.
Yeah, the ones that you sent via chat, Marie, I'm not sure where they would have come through. I don't know what WebEx does with those. But if you want to send those to, I don't know if a ticket or an email would be better. Um, but if you just want to email those to me or Courtney or both or everybody on the Cardinal team,
Yeah.
we can take a look.
Yeah, we can, like I said, send it over, or like Samantha said, send it an email and we can kind of create a ticket so we can kind of keep everything in one place as we work. But this is interesting,
Yeah.
to say the least.
What
It's been
was,
a week of holes.
yeah. Oh, not that one. Let's see. So this is the Moore, yeah, the Moore County item. Um, okay, it was created in November. Yeah, and it looks like it was originally checked out on November 23rd and it's now due on December 18th with a 14-day checkout. That means that it had to have renewed somewhere in there for a due date to be December 18th.
Right. Yeah, that's the due date that was given with the OPEC renewal, it shows.
Yeah, and it says one remaining renewal, which means that it had, because it's got two renewals attached to it, it must have renewed once. All right, well, we will definitely keep digging into that one because that's it's definitely an oddball. All right, yep, and actually something just popped up saying that I got an email from you, so that's probably what it is. So we'll take a closer look at those. Is anybody else experiencing anything weird like this or has experienced it in the past? Anybody have any insight maybe? Or commiseration would be fine too. Um,
I was looking through to see if we still had Brunswick staff on the call. I hate to keep picking on them or putting them on the spot, but I was just, looking through Basecamp today and seeing some of the examples that were put there, and it looks like a lot of them had been, a lot of those items that we had questions on had already been checked out or on the whole shelves as expected. So I wanted to see, and that was as of I think the 17th and 18th, but just wanting to see how things are going today. Haven't seen a lot of chatter there. It's kind of the same behavior, a bit of relief, or just kind of how things are going if anyone is there to respond from Brunswick. And if not, I'll post something this afternoon in Basecamp to just kind of wanted to check in on how things are looking today.
Well, maybe we'll spend a few minutes taking a look at the hold pull list, because I know that um, after the upgrade, there were some odd things coming through here, and I think all this stuff has been resolved, but maybe we can take a closer look. But one of the big things, of course, in the upgrade is that you have the ability to kind of narrow your pull list by pickup library and shelving location. So this kind of allows you to sort of, you know, maybe pull your in-system holds before you start pulling those resource sharing out of system holds. It can also help you to create different lists for different areas of your library. But I know that there were also some issues where pull lists weren't. And Will, I think you handle a lot of this. So if I'm explaining it wrong, please pop in and correct me. But I think pull lists weren't populating properly the first time, and you had to.
It was so it wasn't happening for all libraries, but there was a bug or issue where if the pickup library was blank, it would not populate the holds pull list. And then, but if you set the pickup library to Cardinal, it would then populate the holds pull list. But again, it didn't happen for everyone. And we did a bunch of testing on Next and couldn't really narrow down what the precise issue was, because what we found was that once you set the pickup library to Cardinal, then that basically fixed the issue, because even if you reloaded the holds pull list and the pickup library was still blank, it would populate so long as you would set it to Cardinal once. Anytime after that, it would populate. But that only happened on Next. Like when we would test it on production, even if you changed it to Cardinal, it populated the whole pull list. If you navigated away or refreshed the page and the pickup library was blank again, it wouldn't populate the whole pull list. But
Is
that
it
seems to have been resolved in the time since then.
okay? Was it resolved through a patch, or does it just seem to have fixed
I don't think
itself?
there was ever a patch, because Llewellyn said that we needed to be able to reproduce the issue on Next for him to create one, and we couldn't ever reproduce it on Next. So
Weird. But it's working now, so
I haven't received any reports from anyone that it's not, so presumably it's working.
okay. Well, if anyone does find that that happens, let us know so that we can keep track of it. Um, let's see. So, has anybody done anything with the shelving locations or anything like that in the pull list? Is that something that anybody has been kind of integrating into their workflow, or still kind of leaving it off to the side? So I know we haven't really delved into the shelving location group thing yet, but that is a potential in the future. I'm not sure what we have set for this in production at this point. Let's take a quick look. Could be a moment. I have my working location set to pack, which tends to have a fairly hefty pull list. Yeah, we haven't set up any shelving location groups in production yet, but this is something that I definitely think has some potential to be useful moving forward. So if this is something that you're interested in for your library, certainly worth experimenting with. Basically, on the administration side, you can set up groups of shelving locations. So, maybe all of your different juvenile shelving locations you could put together in a single group. And then this would be usable in both the search and then also here in the pull list. So once you set that group, once you set the group up in the administration side, then you can select it as your shelving location group for your pull list and apply that. And then you're going to populate a list that is from all of the shelving locations within that identified group, but is limited only to those shelving locations. So if you do it for juvenile, you'll get any item on your pull list that is shelved in any of your juvenile locations. You're not going to get any adult books, any YA books, only those juvenile books. But as you can see here with the call numbers, we've got easy readers, we've got juvenile nonfiction. Let's see if there's anything else. So that can be useful depending on what your library layout is. And for some larger libraries, where you may have different floors and things like that, I think there's a lot of potential for simplifying your whole pull list process by sorting it by shelving location, but also then within those groups. I used to be the interlibrary loan assistant for a library I worked at that was really large. And when I would have a really big list and I'd be going all over the library, I would start to kind of, everything was ordered, but I'd still start to kind of lose track after a while. And so it would have been nice to have like, this is my list for the youth room. This is my list for adult fiction. This is my list for nonfiction, and kind of be able to organize myself that way. Yeah, we've got some juvenile graphic novels here within these shelving locations. So we're kind of all over the place in terms of shelving locations, but they're all just within that umbrella of juvenile materials. So something that has not really been set up in production yet, but I think has a lot of potential to be useful. So if that's something you're interested in, you can let us know and we'd be happy to work with you on getting some stuff going with that.
May I ask something on a different topic under holds?
Of course.
Um, as I mentioned, sometimes you're just process a new item and you check it in. And as I was mentioned before, I had it doesn't capture a hold because it doesn't see it yet in the system. And you have your check-in modifiers selected, retarget local holds and retarget all statuses, and that still doesn't work. But you see that there are clearly patron holds in your system. So something that I've used that we hadn't talked about now is a feature where you go to the patrons record and you do actions and find another target.
Yes.
And that hasn't been discussed. Well, sometimes, here's my question is, why does that work sometimes and sometimes it doesn't?
Well, I don't know.
Because looking in the Evergreen documentation, they actually address retargeting holds as the fact that, hold on, the system does not automatically recognize newly added items as available to fill holds. And they actually tell you to do that actions find another target to try to correct that. And sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. Just like how the check-in modifiers sometimes work and sometimes don't. It's just me wanting to get the book into the hands of the patron when I know there's holds and it's customer service to me. And it's like, this is frustrating. So you do everything you can to try to get it to work. So I didn't know. I just wondered if anybody had had any experience with find another target. Does anybody else take the time to go over to the patron side of things and actually try to capture that hold for that newly processed item?
Courtney or Will, is this something that you have done a lot of or helped anyone with recently? kind of speak to. I've only done it kind of in training scenarios, not in real life. So I have not run into it failing, but
I'm sorry, I missed the question. I was still looking at the holds pull list bug.
yeah, I saw your message in the chat that that actually is still an issue in production. Um,
And
so when you are trying to retarget a hold from the patron's account, sometimes, so Deborah, was it that sometimes it fails to retarget at all, or just sometimes it fails to find the local copy in that retargeting?
Well, let me, here's how it went. As I went over, I had a copy in my hand that I knew could fill a hold, brand new, just processed. Check it in, it says reshelve. So I go to the patron's record, I say action, find another target, and I immediately check it in, and it's supposed to, once you do that, capture that hold for that patron, and it didn't. And then later, a couple books down the road, I did the same thing, and it captured it for the patron, for a different
Sounds like what
patron.
I'm dealing with Brunswick, honestly.
So again, I wonder if that find another target has something to do with Evergreen's definition of local, because I should say that the copies I had in my hand were for our 4 different branches. So I had 4 copies of a title available to fill holds for Onslow. And when I did retarget, like find another target, and I immediately checked that barcode in after that, it should have associated that barcode with find another target, and it didn't.
Correct.
A few titles later, it successfully did.
Yes,
And
it's
it's just one of those things where I scratch my head. And the same thing about the
Yeah.
check-in modifiers working sometimes and sometimes not. So again, I wonder if it's something in Evergreen's
Yeah.
definitions of what is local and what can be used to find another target and what can be used for retarget local holds.
This is such a Llewellyn question.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to add, like, this wouldn't have anything to do with the proximity adjustments, would it?
Well, this is like if you're in a patron's record, you probably guys know where it's at. You actually specifically are in the patron's record. A lot of times I'll click on the title and then link back over to what patrons have it on hold. And that's how I get to who should be getting it, first within our system. And I go down their list and I find the title that I have in my hand that's on hold under their account, and I'll check mark that particular title and go to actions, and it's almost the very last menu item. It's right above cancel hold, and I'll hit find another target. Because I'm trying to do anything I can to get Evergreen to realize that I have an available copy to fill a local hold.
Yep. Deborah, did you notice this has this always been behavior issue or question, or is this something that has come up since the upgrade?
Nope, I've seen it, and it was in previous versions of Evergreen as well.
Okay.
I just never mentioned it. I probably shouldn't. It was just something my staff and I would like, oh, that's just Evergreen. Oh, that's just Evergreen. But when I saw today's meeting, I thought, well, let me find out if that's just Evergreen or see if anybody else deals with this in holds management.
It looks like Marie says that she's dealt with it quite a bit. And Dalton says that he has done it before, but that it didn't work for him.
Like I said, I have some luck with it. In fact, I was teaching my staff to do it, but to tell you the truth, it is labor intensive to sit there and do that for every title that you have just got done processing, trying to look to see if there's holds. And so my staff, it's beside the point, but my staff is shared between cataloging and IT. So we really don't have the available time to do it, but we try because it's customer service and you're trying to help,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I feel like this is so familiar.
This is very helpful for me because, like I said, I was scoping my troubleshooting and looking at this specifically to the migrating library and something having to do with them not resource sharing. But this is the same behavior I'm working on the reports that they're providing us in Basecamp. And I actually was just, looks like one just came in while we were in this meeting, and I was looking at that one. It's a little different, but Interesting.
Courtney, do you think this could be at all related to that soft boundary thing that you were asking about earlier?
That's what I was asking about earlier, just because I am not familiar with soft boundary. I only use hard boundary when I'm wanting system to scope to using their items in their system to fill holes because they're not resource sharing. Um, and also, like I said, I'm not familiar with it. Whenever I did look at it at the cardinal level, it was set to 0. And there were, well, Brunswick was the only one that I found with 1. So not sure. Not sure, but that's, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if the soft boundary thing could be the thing that would allow the local hold to go beyond the branch. If that is what's happening, where local holds are being considered truly local, as in it must be at this branch, and so
Mhm.
that's why stuff's not being targeted. If a soft boundary might open up, I don't literally found out about that off this morning, so I don't know anything about it, but I'm curious.
Exactly. And looking in the staff client, it doesn't say it doesn't provide any type of description of or explanation on the setting. It just says the title. So definitely not helpful. I'm wondering, and like I said, I'd like to kind of know more about the setting before testing and playing around. So I dare not do anything in production, but I wonder if maybe we can change it in next and do a little testing and see if we receive any behavior difference. That was kind of where I was prior to the meeting when, discussing teams. But again, like I said, I don't have a knowledge of it. So, it's kind of hard to, yeah.
Definitely.
I just remembered something because it was
Mhm.
this week that I was doing it. When I tried to retarget a local hold, it didn't work successfully when the hold needed to go to our Richlands branch. It did work successfully when I retargeted it for a Jacksonville main library, and that's where I'm working from. So I was able to successfully find another target, check something in, and it successfully captured it for a Jacksonville main library patron. But when I tried to do the same thing with an available main library copy to go to a Richlands branch patron, it would not find another target and work successfully. I just remembered that. I had to think about it because I know the patrons.
Mhm. That kind of goes back to the question about local.
Yep. So
Thank you for this, Deborah. This is helpful because I
good. You can.
honestly, since Thursday, have been like banging my head against the wall trying to figure out what has changed since the migration. Is it just Brunswick? Is it everybody? Was it a setting? Was it something? And yeah, so this is helpful.
Well, I figured my typing isn't as quick as just speaking. So this particular issue that she's had, I've never tried to find the other target in that, but we have a request for purchase that's on our website that allows our patrons to request an item. And when it goes onto the spreadsheet, if and when we purchase the item, I go through, once our catalog catalogs it, brings it to me, I go through the spreadsheet, make sure the patron is on hold for that particular item, and then I will have the book in my hand, scan it in, and I've learned that once you scan it in, you automatically then can place the hold, because if sometimes it will allow you to place the hold while it's still in processing, and other times it won't. So I've learned to scan it, then automatically place them on hold. And 9 times out of 10, it will automatically give it to them. But if it's not a copy hold, many times I will have to replace the hold with the different type, whether it's title hold or a copy hold or vice versa. So then it will give it to that patron. Basically, like Deborah said.
Have you ever noticed the hold status on the patron's account when you're doing that. You're basically, you're cataloging the book, you're making it available, you're placing the hold for the patron, and then you're scanning the book to capture the hold. Is that the
Correct.
process? Okay. Have you ever, prior to that final scan to capture the hold, have you ever gone and looked closely at the patron's hold list to see if when you place that hold, if it automatically like put it
An
into a
item
status
number?
of waiting for capture? Yeah, because if it's already kind of identified something, it may not target yours if it's already on a pull list for someone somewhere else.
Normally, there isn't an item number. I have
Okay.
learned that if an item number does not come up, then that hold, in my mind, doesn't exist
Right.
because it doesn't show it. I don't know if it's being done too quickly, because as soon as, I mean, if the person is already on a title hold, you scan the item in, to me, that automatically picks that item saying, hey, it's here. We'll give it to you. It's your copy.
Mhm.
And then, but it doesn't. So then I change the type of hold. So then that person can get, I mean, and then rescan it, obviously, and then it'll give it to them.
There
This
is
is what
something strange happening in this.
normally it happens to me. I find that I have 6 locations that I have to find books for these people. And I've also come across that if somebody already has the book on a title hold and it's not even in processing, or has, I guess because it's located in somewhere else, that if I scan the item to give it to my patron who I just put on hold for it, it will automatically go to that other person that had placed it even before processing. It's really weird.
I feel like the branch thing probably does come into this. If you and Deborah are two of the people who are really experiencing a lot of this, you're both from, kind of multi-branch systems. So I feel like that it seems likely that's part of the issue.
I think so.
Right.
Because I was just going to share something that I remember seeing. So the other day when I tried to take a copy, okay, so the hold was for our Richlands branch. Check-in modifiers didn't help to capture the hold. So I went to the patron's record, and as I was telling you, I told it find another target. I selected that line item, and that line item changed to waiting for capture, right? Because you're saying find another target. I went to check in, and since it didn't successfully work, it didn't capture the hold, but that particular title back over on the patron's account was stuck in waiting for capture because I had used the action find another target. And what I had to do was go back and put activator hold back so that it would come out of waiting for capture. So when I used find another target, it triggered her hold to go into waiting for capture. I go to check in, I check it in. It didn't successfully work like it did for the other because I was here at main library and I wasn't at Richlands checking it in. But looking back at the patron's status of that particular hold, if that's making sense, it was still stuck on waiting for capture because it didn't work. So I check marked it and activated it again because I didn't want it to, this patron who I happen to know, didn't want it to mess up her hold, you know.
So this sounds very much like what was happening with Brunswick right after they went live. So there is definitely something strange going on with holds right now. And it is, we were assuming it was just, there's always weirdness after a library migrates. There's always something that doesn't quite work right with holds. So we assumed that it was just going on with Brunswick, but it sounds like it is much more widespread than that.
Yeah, I think it's an issue with it wasn't able to use it just couldn't use a copy that wasn't Richlands being checked in at Richlands to fulfill that find
Well,
another target.
What's odd is that it put it into a status of waiting for
Uh-huh.
capture
Mm-hmm. After
when
I
the
chose
item was not available for capture because it wasn't in Richlands.
yeah, but I had hit find another target.
Right.
So I was about to find another target. So it was saying, oh, that means you're waiting for capture.
Well,
Is that
no,
correct?
it says waiting for capture when it has identified an item and that item is showing up on somebody's pull list.
Oh, okay.
So what should happen in that case is that it should say, oh, Richlands has one available, so we'll do that one, or somebody else has one available, and so we've identified that one, and that's on their pull list now, and that's the one that's going to fulfill this hold.
But shouldn't geolocation with Llewellyn's code have pulled my brand new copy within Onslow?
Well,
too?
so what I think what's happening is that it's not waiting for capture for that item. It should be, but it's not because it doesn't recognize that item as being available to fulfill this hold. And that's where something's wrong because
Okay.
it should recognize that item to be available to fulfill this hold.
Yeah, and this particular ILS does have quite the delay on recognizing newly processed items.
It's
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Brunswick is like me. We came from Polaris, and Polaris, as soon as you process a brand new item, it actually sees holds immediately. That's just a good feature of it. So, just something different.
we'll look into it. We are at 1:06. I'm happy to continue the discussion for anyone who would like to stay, but I don't want anybody who has to get back to the desk or anything like that to feel like they are beholden to stay. So I did want to thank everybody for being here today and for participating. I know holds are one of the more complex things that we deal with and one of the more frustrating things to be complex. So I do appreciate everyone bringing your problems to us and we will look into them.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for all of your great questions, Deborah, as well as your insight.
Thank you guys. This has been a bit of a sanity check for me. Thank you.
I guess in a way, it's nice to know that it's not just Brunswick.
Right.
That
right.
puts us in the right
I can
direction to
focus
look.
on them only. Exactly. So
Uh-huh.
thank you guys.
Well, I hope everyone has a great holiday and a happy new year and everything. And plenty of the Cardinal team will be in and out of the office over the next few weeks. So when you run into weird things, feel free to send us a ticket because we'll be here to deal with it. Right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. And but if you do have follow-up questions, please feel free to bring them to us.
Happy holidays.